Hello, my name is Jeremy and welcome to my channel. Welcome to another Sleepy Sunday. I got a really great suggestion for a whole bunch of videos that I will be doing. What was I doing with my arm just now? Today I am going to be talking about taxes. I've also realized that my life is just unorganized and things on this channel are following suit. So things are not being uploaded in the order that they happened. Big surprise. So taxes. Taxes suck. Giant dick. I personally hate taxes. I understand them, but I despise them. Taxes are kind of like the thing that you do that you really don't want to do, but you have to do them, and so you just complain a lot about them. So what are taxes? Taxes are the thing that the government imposes on people who live underneath that government in order to fund things. So whenever any new bills or acts come out that require money, so like whenever they're complaining on the news like this is going to cost taxpayers $12 billion, that means that however much that they're spending is or whatever they're spending their money on is $12 billion, and so now everybody that is going to be using this thing, essentially, even if you are not using it, you still have to pay for it because you are a taxpayer, will be costing you, all of us, the collective we, $12 billion, and so that will be spread across every single taxpayer. So across that tax year, it will be divided up between each American that can pay taxes. How much will come out from each person's check every single time they get paid in order to fund this thing. So like any kind of healthcare, like welfare is a really good example. Basically, in order to fund those people being able to collect welfare checks, that money has to come from somewhere. In the same way that, like, you know, if we go to war and we send our troops over that way, the money that sent them there has to get made up somewhere, and that comes out of taxpayer dollars. So whenever we pay taxes, all that money that comes out is going to different projects that the government is doing. Now, there are two different types of taxes that will get taken out of your checks every time you get paid. That is federal, and then there will be your state taxes, which will be things that your state in particular is doing. So you'll get both of those different taxes taken out, and then at the end of the tax season, which is usually in April when you start filing, April's the due date. You can start filing in January. April 20th is the due date. Yes, is it April 20th? Yeah, I think. No, that's marijuana day. Who knows? So at the end of the tax season, they will go over your taxes and how much was taken out, and if they took out enough, like, it's all bullshit. You owe a certain amount, and then depending on how much they took out of your checks in taxes, that will go as like a credit towards how much is supposed to come out from your pocket. Now, if they took enough out, then you won't owe any taxes at the end of the tax season. It's all Greek or Latin or like Chinese to me. None of it makes sense. So each person, depending on how much you make throughout your year, will get taxed a certain amount. And you will need to pay a certain amount at the end of the tax season because the government is a bunch of greedy fucks. So if you make an excessively great amount of money, like over $100,000, you will have a much bigger tax bracket that you will need to pay. If you're very, very low, you will have a much smaller tax bracket that you will need to pay. And then that's where like writing off comes in, and people always talk about writing off things on their taxes. And if you tithe to the church, so that means like if you give a certain portion of your money each time you go to church to the church, and you say, here's $20, I'm putting it in the offering bin, you can write off all of that money as long as you kept note of how much you put. And that's why a lot of people will usually put checks inside that that offering bin because they can go on their bank statement and prove, like, look, I actually gave $5,000 to the church this year. I'm going to write all this off. So now, like, if someone who made a lot of money was supposed to owe like $10,000 and they gave $5,000 to the church, you can write off so much of that. I don't know what the limit is, but you can write off some of that and say, okay, I don't owe $10,000 anymore. I now owe only $8,000. That's a write-off. Kids, if you have children, you can write them off, and they will give you a certain amount of money for having those kids, and they'll take off money from how much you owe. And depending if you have 1, 2, 3, or 500. If you had to buy things for your job, like if your job required you to have a certain work uniform that you had to pay for, or if you had to buy shoes, if you had to commute a certain amount, like if your job got relocated, it's not like if you live, 10 miles away from work or 500 miles away from work and you have to commute. It's not that. It's like you're choosing to work there, so why are they going to write off how much you're paying to get to work? It's like if you're working at McDonald's and then your McDonald's burned down and the only one that was available was like 30 miles away and you had to commute to work because there was literally nowhere else for you to go, like that's where they transferred you to, you could write off that gas because you didn't have a choice in getting to work. Like you could have gone to work closer, but you didn't have that option anymore. Or if you were like promoted and you were moved to another area and you literally couldn't do anything about it, if you had to move because of your job, like if your job relocated and you had to get a new house and you had to like get a brand new life somewhere else and pay for all these things, you can write off your relocation to some extent. So that really only applies like if you're making a lot of money. If you're really, really low in tax brackets, generally you won't have that much to pay, and usually a lot more will come out of your checks in order to supplement that money that you owe. So that is kind of like in a very big nutshell what taxes are. I know I used a lot of like broad terms and I think I confused myself once or twice, but if it makes sense to you, there you go. If it doesn't, I can do a clarification video and try to like re-clarify some stuff. So yeah, that's taxes. I'm gonna go see if my cats have killed each other. See you guys next time.